Hello and welcome to Craftiosity, where creativity comes to you, with monthly craft kits delivered to your door. This month, you'll create your own terracotta clay wall hanging decoration. Unleash your creativity with this project and sculpt intricate geometric shapes and craft captivating beads. Inside your kit, you'll find some gold lame yarn, a bottle of Fawn acrylic paint, one rolling pin, 500 grams of terracotta, air dry modeling clay, one wooden ring, one paintbrush, a tapestry needle, and some toothpicks. You will also find a geometric stencil template within your kit and your step-by-step photo instructions, and a little something for your pinboard. Cut out your paper-shaped templates as neatly as possible. Take a portion of clay and separate it from the main batch. Shape it into a ball and then position it onto a sheet of plain paper. Take your rolling pin and flatten your clay ball to a thickness of around 0.3 centimeters. Make sure to check for uniform thickness across the entire surface. Place one of your templates onto the clay. Draw around the template with a toothpick to leave an outline. Remove the template. Using the toothpick again, cut out the shape following the outline. Make holes in your shapes with a toothpick so you can join them together. Push the toothpick into the clay, then wiggle in a circular motion to make a hole large enough for the needle to go through. Shapes need a top and bottom hole for hanging thread to go through. Don't worry if your clay shapes have rough edges. Take a small dish of water and dip your finger in. Gently smooth out the edges of the shapes, as well as around your holes and engraved lines. Use the water sparingly because if your clay is too wet, it will take longer to dry and may crack whilst drying. Take another piece of clay and repeat this process of drawing around a template, then cutting out the shape. You can also use your leftover clay and roll it out again to cut more shapes from it. As well as cutting out the whole shape, you can also cut a smaller shape from inside a larger shape. Make holes in some shapes to allow you to stitch them once dry. Decide what design you'd like to stitch onto the shape, then make a hole at each end of the stitch. You can also engrave designs into the clay shapes with a toothpick. If you're going to paint inside the engraved lines later, you will need to make sure your engraving is wide enough for the tip of the paintbrush to reach. Next, make some beads to add to your hanging. Take a small piece of clay, roll in the palm of your hand to create a ball. Make different sized beads to add variety to your wall hanging. Make a hole through each of the beads with a toothpick. This can flatten out your beads slightly so you can give them another gentle roll to help them keep their original shape. Smooth out any rough areas or cracks in your beads using a finger dipped in water. Leave your clay shapes and beads to dry for at least 24 hours, turning over halfway through so the back dries out fully. Cut a length of gold yarn and thread on your needle. Tie a knot in the other end. Use the gold yarn to stitch the pieces that you made holes in. Bring your needle up from the back to start so your knot is hidden. Fasten off once you have stitched all the holes. Paint the pieces that you engraved a design into. You can also leave them plain if you prefer. Either paint inside the lines you engraved or paint the shape within the lines, or a mixture of both. On your plain shapes, you can paint a pattern or design. We created a color block effect by painting a section of the shape. Now paint your beads. You may find it easier to paint them if you pop them on a toothpick first. You can paint the whole bead a solid color, or paint a pattern on. Try dots, stripes, dashes, or anything else you can think of. Leave your painted pieces to dry for at least 2 to 3 hours. If needed, apply a second coat of paint and leave to dry. Once all your clay shapes have been decorated, arrange them vertically in the order you want them to be on your hanging. Place your beads in between the shapes. You can use just one bead, or add a row of them to space your shapes out further. Cut a piece of gold yarn roughly 3 meters long. Fold in half and use a lark's head knot to attach to your wooden ring. Place the folded end of the yarn through the ring, then pull the cut ends of the yarn through the folded loop. Thread both strands of your gold yarn through your needle. Start adding your clay beads and shapes one at a time. When adding your shapes, go down through the top hole from the front, then up through the bottom hole from the back, so your yarn is hidden behind your shape. Repeat this process, adding each of your clay shapes and beads one at a time in the order you laid them out. If you want to leave a space between any of your shapes, tie a knot underneath the shape so it won't move. Take your gold yarn and wrap around your hand roughly 40 times. Cut along the bottom of the wrapped yarn so you have lots of strands of the gold yarn. Fold the cut pieces of gold yarn in half. Cut another piece of gold yarn and tie around the folded bundle, wrapping it around several times and knotting tightly to create a tassel. Use the gold yarn at the bottom of the wall hanging to tie the tassel underneath the last clay piece. Thread one strand of the gold yarn through the folded top part of the tassel. Tie a knot with the two strands and position it so it's hidden inside the tassel. Trim your tassel so the strands are all nice and even. Make sure all your clay shapes are hanging correctly. Your terracotta clay wall hanging is now finished and ready to hang. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next craft kit project next month.